You know, over 57 million people in America are eligible for big discounts, like 50% discounts at local farmers markets. That's right, this great food that they have locally now, and it's grown locally. It doesn't travel on a truck, you know, coming from Colorado for 15 days on the highway, or from Brazil on airplane. This is local food that's better tasting and better nutrition value and organic and all that stuff. There's 8,000 of these farmers markets now, right? 8,000, they've doubled almost in the last 5 years. So now the government really gives money for you to buy these things at 50% as people have certain incomes. But there's 57 million people that are eligible to get, you know, food from farmers markets at like 50% discounts. Now here are the programs. Like the first program, the biggest one, is SNAP, that Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program. And there's 47 million people right now who get that money. And see, they could go to the farmers market and use that money, and also they get double what they buy. So if they buy $10 worth of vegetables, they get $20. Yep. And that's cool. And actually, to be eligible for that program, like the income goes about $30,000 for a family of 4. But that's 47 million people, man. And this, we're talking almost 20% of the country, you know, are eligible. Now here's another program: Women, Infants, and Children. It's called the WIC program, and this is for women with children up to 5 years old. And there's almost 8 or 9 million people that are eligible for that, and that's an income of about $43,000. So that SNAP program is like $30,000 for a family of 4. The WIC program is for $43,000. So that's, you know, 75% bigger in income. So they're eligible for discounts, you know, 50% discount. Now there's a seniors program too, just for seniors, people 60 years old or more. I was 60 for 10, 11 years already. Yeah, and actually you could be making, like, a family of 2 over 60, making $28,000, and you get cash money to buy fruits and vegetables at farmers markets. Now remember, this also includes roadside stands, right? Roadside stands, those things you see on the highway where they're, you know, have all the fresh fruit and vegetables. And this is obviously a growing trend. I mean, the stuff you get in the markets comes from all over, and we're wasting too much energy getting it here, and you get it better, faster, cheaper, and tastier, you know, at these farmers markets. So how do you find out about these programs? Okay, actually, there's a directory. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has a directory of the 8,000 farmers markets, and you could go to, just Google USDA Farmers Market Directory. USDA Farmers Market Directory, and you'll see, you put in a zip code, you find all the local ones there. Now, to find out about all these programs, to see if you're eligible to apply for the program, if you don't already belong to one of these programs, you can call, the easiest place is to call 211. So you call 211, that's a local hotline. They tell you about government programs or whatever, so you can say, hey, you know, I'm trying to see if I'm eligible for any programs to do with food. If you're a senior, don't forget, the income for SNAP is $30,000. The income for WIC is $43,000. And for seniors, a family of 2, $28,000, and 60 years or more. So that's where the deals are this summer in good food. And nutrition food, and tastier. Especially, I grew up getting vegetables out of a can. Well, Mike Lagone, I guess your parents spent all this money sending you to architect school. You come out of school, you find that's not for me after a couple jobs or whatever, and you go back to something you did learn in college, was making beer, right?
I definitely developed a love for beer in college, and went to school out in Syracuse, and there's not a lot to do in the Arctic tundra in the winter, so I turned to beer brewing and fell in love with it.
But more importantly, now you've raised almost $130,000 on your crowdfunding site on Kickstarter. Yeah. So now you have a real business, and you're in your apartment now. This is where your business is, right? And you got wrapping paper hanging from the ceiling and everything.
From the ceiling. It's a total mess in here. But
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons for the crowdfunding campaign is to really just kick things up a notch and move to a new space.
And you made your goal like in 10 hours or whatever. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah.
Pretty quickly. We're still trying to digest all this good news and try and figure out how to actually make these things in a timely fashion.
You're not really selling beer. You're selling a kit, a beautiful designed kit that you make handmade to show people how to make their own beer, huh?
Yeah. A lot of the homebrewing kits that are out there right now, these big, bulky 5-gallon buckets. Essentially, they're not much to look at.
I see.
So the approach is to make the process a little bit more user-friendly, scale it down a little bit for people with smaller apartments, or who don't necessarily want to become professional brewers, but want to just try the process and have something that looks nice on their kitchen counter.
No, I mean, it's sort of like designer brewery. I mean, it's a little designer brewery. And you're using, like, even the wood that it's made out of. This is all local wood up in Massachusetts you guys are finding.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
So you're a craftsman and an artist, too, in wood making. Yeah,
I've always had a lot of fun in the wood shop, and I get to do it probably more than I'd like now.
Damn customers get in the way, right? So, in other words, you went to school to learn something that everybody think would be very fancy and smart to learn, and then you followed your heart though afterwards to find, because you really like playing with wood, you really like making beer, and
Absolutely. It's one of those things that it doesn't really make sense at the time while you're doing it. You're sort of floundering around trying to figure out what you're doing, especially right after college. I think a lot of people can sympathize with that. And, but looking back now, it makes a surprising amount of sense just coming out of architecture school, sort of with an eye for design, love for woodworking, and a homebrewing hobby. And it all kind of came together with Hopbox.
But I mean, the hobby, it was so interesting when you said that. The first time you tried it, you said, God, this tastes like beer.
It was amazing to me. It honestly blew me away. And a lot of people are, they don't know how easy it can be.
Yeah.
And, there are a lot of different ways of approaching it. You can brew in a weekend, or you can become a professional brewer. And there's every level of brewing equipment in between.
And it's certainly a lot faster than making wine, I would think.
It is. Yeah. It is. It's probably about 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks from start.
Huh. Now, what's mead? I see in your literature.
It's kind of like a honey wine.
I see.
Very popular in sort of the medieval era.
So Renaissance fairs, huh? Is that, people use it in Renaissance fairs? I see somebody.
Cider too. The kits are great for cider, and especially
cider. I see. Oh, well, that's cool. I mean, it's a kid thing. They learn. I mean, they learn chemistry. They learn all this stuff about how to brew their own cider, right?
Yeah.
And it's very reasonable. You're not investing thousands of dollars in some, fancy stuff. And it's designer. I mean, it's that woodworking is wonderful that you have there.
Yeah, and I think the critique has been made that why would I pay so much for something that does something that a much larger setup could do for even less. And I think the argument there is just that one of the things that frustrated me about the brewing process was that I would go through it. I would, I'd end up making a huge mess in the kitchen. I'd end up with this big bucket that would just be sitting there for long, and then it would just go right back in the closet or the basement to be seen again. And I wouldn't brew very often.
No, I mean it looks like a chemistry set.
Give people a reason to maybe be inspired to do it a little bit more often. And I think the brewing potential makes up for the cost difference.
But it looks like you have a work of art. I mean, with these chemistry-looking kind bottles, and all surrounded by this gorgeous wood, and these wonderful blue bottles that you put the final product in.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
all this is, artwork. It's not, cans of beer.
It's been called a grown-up chemistry set. I feel like that.
Exactly. Oh, that's wonderful. And what's really neat is how, man, you had no idea. I guess you've been struggling for a while now trying to kick this business off so you didn't have to go back and be an architect, which you didn't want to do it anyway.
I can imagine worse things, but
Yeah, right. Better than pumping gas. But now you're a beer guy, man, and helping other people succeed and in brewing something at home. We all want something, instead of growing vegetables in our backyard, and now we can make beer in our kitchen.
that's the goal, and I think to be able to share that with as many people as possible is one of the goals of our Kickstarter, beyond just the crowdfunding fundraising.
Is beer made without energy? Do you have to plug anything in or anything?
It mostly takes place on the stovetop.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So there's no big.
Yeah, it's not so bad, and people are intimidated by the process, but frankly, they shouldn't be. It's really not. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, you're a delight. I'll tell you that more people ought to be making homebrew beer, and I know they are. And beer is more like food to me. Wine is, it doesn't seem as food, like real food.
Yeah.
Beer is real food, So to get this, you really go to hotbox.co, right?
Yep, that's
And as long as you're on Kickstarter, it's a great deal because you get this at a discount of what it's going to be when you're out there like normal people, right? So people ought to get it now, and it's hop HOPBOX.co. And Michael, you're a great guy and a great here that you're sharing all your talents and skills. It's just that you went to school to learn the wrong thing.
No such thing as a wrong thing.
That's true. Thank you so much, Michael.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Lesko.
Well, Carolyn Lavery, man, I think you're the best thing that Ireland sent us, and since Scotch whiskey. No, that's Scotland. Since potatoes, what? But so wonderful to have you doing this in our country. You're a trained architect, and now you're making posters of the filmography of aircraft. So you're the only one, I think, in the world that's showing us how important aircraft is in movies. Almost more important than the actors. What made you think of this?
Last year I did one for film and cars, so I looked at the iconic cars of film, and people really loved it. I mean, the DeLorean from Back to the Future. When you think of Back to the Future, you think of the DeLorean.
That's right. Yes,
and
definitely.
so they asked me to do one for aircraft, so I listened to what people wanted.
So in other words, your customers are telling you what they want, and you go in the back room, and now you have a sellable product. So they told you that, and I guess that's what you're doing on Kickstarter now. You're fundraising on a new project that you were looking for $3,000 to finish this project, and you said you got that in 12 hours, and you're all the way up to $17,000, and you got about 2-3 more weeks to go. So who knows? You're going to move back to Ireland with all this money. It's just a wonderful thing. But more importantly, you came here and was working for an architect firm. You're a trained architect and just hated that after 2 years, huh?
Yeah, I realized that it wasn't where I wanted to be in my life. I was working, a lot of hours a day. I was getting home late. I didn't have the quality of life that I wanted. And, I got 10 days off a year. So if I wanted to go home to Ireland to see my family, which they would like, that's my whole vacation for a year. So I went home at Christmas time for, 2 weeks. So that would be my I wouldn't be able to take any more time.
You have to go back to the grindstone. Well, then how did you... God, I mean, how do you do that? I mean, so many people are tied in jobs that, they were working like heck and they don't feel satisfied and it's draining the life from them and they know there's something better, but they can't see it or don't know how to put it together, it seems. And you just took like $400 and you started something on the side, right?
Right. I think you have to, I mean, you start on the side. You don't just quit your job and then be
Yeah.
like, I'm going to do something. You know,
I
you
gotta
have
be a
to be,
star.
right. So I would just go home, you know, every night, or at the start it was every night. I was excited to start something new. And so I would, you know, you have, there's an energy work. And then if you're working for yourself, you can
Oh
somehow have a
God, yeah.
reserve that you can work, you know, and you just have to work hard, you know, after work and the weekends when you can. And then, you know, slowly it'll build. It took a half to really get anywhere, or, you know, to get
Yeah.
where I was comfortable taking a risk to quit my job. And
Quit your job. So that took about how long? About 6 months or so before you're able to do that, or what?
it took about a year before
About
I
a year.
was comfortable
Yeah.
in even thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
And then my visa was up in 6 months after that. So I waited the 6 months, and then I was like, okay, let's try this.
So now, so that was another requirement because if you're working for somebody else, your visa you'd have to go back, but working for yourself, you could stay. Or you got married, actually, right?
I got married, so my visa was up, and I was married at the time, so I kind of had to take a break to get my green card and everything. So
Ah,
I
I
used,
see.
you know, I used that as a reason to leave, and I wasn't sure if I would go back. I gave myself 3 months to see if I was comfortable with it, and yeah, now I have to make sure that I can make this work.
So, in other words, you took $400, you bought a printer to print out product because you were doing your artwork and digitally doing it and selling them on the internet. And that's all it took us for to do that. And then
Right,
build, and you've self-financed it. And you did, actually, before the aircraft, you did one on automobiles and movies, right? So all those
right,
famous automobiles. And then you have one I see on famous cityscapes that you've done in this beautiful, like it's almost like Art Deco, but it's a interpretation of the city. So instantly, you know, I mean, it's just like a black and white outline of a city, and it's not even the real outline, but you know it's Rome or it's Pittsburgh or whatever it
right,
is. Yeah, and they're just gorgeous. And you said that people were using them, like even like on the tables at weddings, like all their
right.
cities that they they enjoyed being at, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
They wrote me and they said, we want to have the tables for our wedding to be different cities that we either traveled to, or met or lived. And so I made these little postcards for the each of the tables of, I think they had 12 or 14
Uh-huh.
cities. And so they had that as their table.
Oh, their
Yeah.
centerpiece, like, oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I see now. So these are big posters, though, that you have the city's outlines on. So I mean, they sound like wonderful gifts to your, partner, loved one, or whatever. To remember that time in Ireland, or
Right.
London,
My
or whatever.
husband, my husband and I, we have London where we met, and we have New York where we live, and then we have Dublin where we traveled to.
Ah, and so you could get a whole array behind your desk at work. All these famous
Right.
because they're beautiful works of art. I mean, and you really draw the airplanes. You draw all these, sometimes even freehand, and then digitize them afterwards to get the
Right.
details so right, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean they're very small on the print, but they're
Hmm.
drawn at, 18-inch by 12-inch.
Ah,
So they're
I see.
big. But
And
then whenever you scale them down, you can see.
Uh, you could see how true that is. You could see that doorknob, a door handle on that 57 Chevy. Yeah. See, when I was a kid,
Right.
we knew what that doorknob on a 57 Chevy looked like.
Yeah, I mean I put more detail and it's really needed, but it really helps the
It
final
helps.
look.
Well, to me, it's all that care and detail that makes something special and unique. Just slapping things on, that's mass merchandise. And you don't need
Right.
that anymore. And that's why I think things are growing on the web like you. I could get something very special, very unique, very detailed. And now I can even get it very reasonable if I go to Kickstarter. Well,
Right.
actually, if I go to your website, that'll take me to Kickstarter, which is calmtheham.com. And if people don't know, say that in Irish, in your
Uh,
accent.
Can the ham. So
Calm
in
the
my
hum. Say,
yeah,
calm the hum. Calm the hum, dear.
right. So in my accent, it rhymes. And when I was deciding on the name, I said to my husband, I was like, oh, I'm gonna name it Calm the Ham because I say this, I'm like, when I want to tell them to relax or chill out, I say Calm the Ham. So I came up with this name and I said, oh, it's great because it's Irish and it rhymes and this and that. And then he's like, it doesn't rhyme. It only rhymes in your accent. But I went ahead anyway. So.
But don't forget, he's a comic from Pittsburgh.
Right.
Nothing will rhyme for them. And so you go to Calm the Ham, and it's not only the aircraft, which you get to click through Kickstarter and get the deal on that, because I'm assuming that this is a deal. I mean, it's very reasonable. What did the prices start at Kickstarter?
It's $45 for the print, which
Wow.
it's the signed 24 by 36 print.
Yeah, that's a big sucker.
Then the higher ones are like a framed version of it. And,
but you have a book too, right? What's the book?
The book is, so all the illustrations I did at a larger scale, it sort of shows them at a larger scale and shows
I see.
extra information. So there's a lot of the planes or aircraft that they were in other movies also, but I only have them on the print under one, so I have a little more detail.
So you get this big frame, then you get a coffee table book of the details of all these. Well,
Right.
that is wonderful. Well, that's charming, and you're charming, and I hope you don't go back to Ireland. We need you here to give us spirit on how we really should be living, because you came here and saw how nuts we live. And you say, I want to live like this. This is crazy. I could take $400 and create my own life with my own art, like you did. Wonderful, Carolyn. Okay, and we find you and all your work and Calm the Ham, Calm the Hum. Say it. You're
Calm the Ham.
Calm the Hum, but it's calmtheham.com. And you find her great work there. Thank you so much, Carolyn.
Thanks so much. This is great.
Well, Don Moyer, I think you're the only person. I mean, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds of people who've done, crowdfunding projects, but never somebody who's done 3 of them. And every time you do one, you make more money. I thought Kickstarter kind of stuff was only for to kickstart your business, and then you go on and find something else. How do you bleed more blood out of the stone every time?
Well, if one Kickstarter project is successful, there's probably no reason a second one wouldn't be at least as successful, and maybe a third one as well.
Wow.
So in my case, I've done 3 now. I'm on the 3rd one right now, and each one has been a bit bigger than the one before.
Wow.
And I think Kickstarter is perfect for this model because it gives you ways to stay in touch with the sponsors of each project and to make contact with them when you have another project.
But if you have sponsors, you have those clients the first time. I mean, I forget what, almost 1,000 people, or I have 1,000 people, bought the first ones, so you know who they are, right? So you're back on the kick, so you could contact them directly. Why give Kickstarter 10%?
I think it's out of respect for the Kickstarter model. I think they earn their percentage, and I'm happy to continue to build on their platform.
Yeah, but you still have the names too. But to me, what's more important, you're getting more people, so it's not just to the same clients that want the latest edition of what you have. And by the way, we should explain what the heck you got. These are the neatest, I guess, dinnerware plates called Calamity Ware. You have one there? Show people.
I think I do.
Yeah.
Here's the current one, if you can see it.
Okay, good. Yeah. You see, well, let's show the big monster fish there, because put it up a little higher. A little higher. Okay, right. There's a big monster fish. See, you think it's some old English plate, right? But it's really the monster fish eating the little village or whatever.
Exactly. So this is a series of sort of silly drawings on dinner plates. Here's the first one.
Okay, a little high. More monsters flying in the air. Huh? Well, I would imagine at dinner time, you have a great conversation piece, right?
Exactly. A lot of people are happy to sort of mock tradition. They know this classic design has been around for hundreds of years. Yeah. But what it needs is more excitement. So I've added monsters disasters and calamities. They're all
I
called
see.
calamity-ware.
Is that just the dark side of your brain coming out and you're trying to make a joke?
A little dark.
Yeah.
I think there are people who are far darker than
Yeah,
this.
that's true.
I think of these as whimsical.
I see, right. No, you're absolutely right. I find it's a way to get out that, to satisfy that itch, the dark side, if you're doing it with a smile, you're still satisfied. So now the third is like even double the second one. That's what I can't get over. You're saying you go back to the same clients, but obviously you're getting new clients. You're finding people, either Kickstarting is getting so much bigger, or you're just finding more people, or whatever.
I think it is that I'm finding new people. Kickstarter makes that easy.
Yeah.
If someone wants to share a project with their friends, it's very easy to do that. But I've also tried to find other web channels to make the plates visible, to help find homes for a lot of silly plates.
But these other web channels, are they also related to Kickstarter? Just to drive traffic to Kickstarter? Or no, you're selling plates other ways, huh?
Well, yes, these other sites are simply to draw attention to the project and steer people to the Kickstarter project. The project is usually open for about 30 days, and in that time we need to funnel as many people to look at it as possible.
So,
now,
go ahead, yeah.
I'll mention that something I did by accident, which turned out to be correct, I think, was I created a shopping site for the leftover plates after the Kickstarter project is finished. Those designs are available on a site called buycalamityware.com.
Buycalamityware.com, so you can get your plates there too after Kickstarter, right?
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So there's a lot of people who miss the Kickstarter window, but are still interested in your project, and there needs to be a place where they can catch up. And in my case,
are you at the point of promoting that site also as a separate business?
No, not beyond what I'm doing on Kickstarter.
I see.
That's pretty much the only way people would find out about it. Right. But maybe later, when we have 6 or 8 plates to offer, it would be worthwhile to steer people directly to that site.
So you're looking at least 6 plates on Kickstarter. You're going to have 6 projects in the next year.
I promised I would do 6, but I think I might do 8.
So what are you getting better at, do you think, in the second and third try at this?
Well, a couple things. I know how to set up the Kickstarter sort of template.
I see. So that's easy.
Structure.
Right, yeah.
It's now much easier to describe a project. Originally, I had to think hard about everything, but now I'm learning how to describe a project. And incidentally, I think that's one of the key steps of Kickstarter, that they give you a template that makes it easy to describe your project. And maybe even if you have no intention of launching your project, you should do that exercise of describing it on Kickstarter using their template. It costs nothing, and it forces you to think deeply about what it is you're offering and why anyone would want it.
Right, exactly, yeah. And
it's
what
good
else?
Exercise.
Yeah. Do you have anything else besides that? You said, what did you learn? Okay, so you learned how to describe the product. So that was easier. And then what was also, do you think anything else you did differently the second time that made those numbers jump?
I think I'm learning to say no.
To what? Money?
A lot of people have special requests. Customers have something they would like, and it isn't what I'm offering. They ask me to change what I'm offering to match what they want.
I see.
And in some cases, their idea might be brilliant, but in a lot of cases, it's just a pure distraction. So I'm trying to learn to stay focused on my vision for what I'm trying to do, and filter out ideas that aren't ready. I'll give you an example. Someone would like a dessert plate or a soup bowl. And that's a great idea, but I don't have time to focus on a soup bowl if I'm working on the next plate.
You only have so much time.
So somebody has to say no, and I'm the only
That's
person
maturity,
doing
isn't it? Yeah, maturity is learning that. Well,
Yeah,
then
but it's a
what
hard
about,
lesson to learn.
oh God, I keep learning and relearning every day. How about marketing? Are there new things that you've learned about marketing?
Um, uh, I'm not
Or,
sure that there are. I think I'm doing the
really?
same steps that
No
I did the
kidding. Wow.
first time. I'm trying to think of people who might be interested in my
Yeah.
project and send them an email, and
Uh-huh.
that's really my main channel.
Hmm. So it's the same marketing technique. You just have probably more sources now that you could go back to automatically, and your time is spent just finding new ones. So you got that, your list is bigger, so to speak, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think if somebody's thinking about a Kickstarter project, I might urge them to think about doing something small initially
Hmm.
to learn and maybe to build a customer base.
Hmm.
And then there's no reason you can't do a second project or a
Right.
third. And you'll
Hmm.
be in a much stronger
Right. Yeah.
position the
Yeah.
second or third time because you do have supporters at that point and you know how it works.
So you,
That you don't have to hit a home run. You can just
right.
start with a
No,
single.
and I see you didn't even get greedy on your minimum requirement, to get this, but you just made more money on it every bloody time, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. So it's just, I guess it's having the uh, you know longevity. It just gets easier. That's what seniors know that, don't we? Huh?
It's something about learning from experience.
Right. How to use your energy. Well,
It's hard
thank you
to.
so much, Don. I'm so glad you're at it and so glad you're keeping at it. We need those plates. We need humor in our life, particularly at dinner time or any time. And
Anytime.
it's good to come from you. Thank you so much. And so it's buycalamityware.com if the Kickstarter's over. Otherwise, find Calamity on Kickstarter, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Wonderful. Take care,
Thank,
Don. Nice to
thank you,
talk to you
Matthew.
again. Bye. Well, Eric Winston, man, and you got the boneyard full of pets, or the boneyard pets, or all those things that are behind you that looks like they're going to eat you.
They do. Yep.
But they're wonderful. I mean, it looks like toys for adults, but you really made them for adults to work with kids because kids could put them together and have fun. But man, like that big monster on your right, man, that'd be great in any office for somebody.
And that's what it is. They're fun for everybody. They were designed as originally as puzzles, and a lot of kids do them as puzzles, but I think they're great sculptures as well. A small one can sit on somebody's desk, the big ones can go anywhere in the room, and we're making them in all different sizes for a lot of different people.
Well, what's neat about it, though, go to your Kickstarter site. The videos there are wonderful because you have one with your daughter putting one together, and she outperforms you. That she's going to be on the Tonight Show and Letterman and everything before you know it.
Yeah, she was awesome. No, it was more of a surprise. I did not expect the whole performance from her and the whole instructional video, and it was like, wow, I just wanted her to sit there and put one together.
Right.
She decided to do an instructional video.
I could see sham now.
Totally, 100%.
How old is she?
She just turned 6 last week.
I see. So, 5, 6-year-old, yeah, she's delightful. But more importantly, I mean, you developed something. God, I mean, it's a beautiful design. It's a work of art. And you're, it's at a price of a toy. I mean, you could start get one of these things for $50. That's on Kickstarter. But people remember if they're interested in one, like now is the time because after Kickstarter, these things will be 2-3 times the price, and not only will you be the first in your neighborhood, but at a hell of a deal. But it's so funny to me because it really is so much more than than if you describe it to somebody, say, oh, it's a bloody toy or something.
Yeah.
But it isn't, and the work you guys put into this really proves that.
Well, that's what the whole thing was. When we started with them, the whole concept came with me picking up one of the old original, this type of thing, these old pressed skits. And I started thinking to myself, what would happen if we took that and made a new one, and not just a small one, just a big one for fun. So we actually copied and traced the design to see what would happen. And honestly, when we scaled it up, it just fell apart just because they're designed for tiny little soft balls of wood and weight and stuff. So we started talking about it, and I was like, let's design something. So we went right back to the drawing board. We designed probably 15 different versions of our first one, just to figure out how all the pieces slot together. Because the slotting is the biggest and most important thing. Because when the pieces go in, if they don't slot in, not only do they have to slot in easily, but they have to stay in. So it's all friction fit. There's no screws or no glue or anything else, and they just go together. And we started with the wood ones, and after some time and picking the right materials, they worked. And then John, one of my guys, turned around and said, we need to do something different. And he was like, let's do acrylic. And it was like, okay, this is really cool. So we're going to keep it closer to the original sizes, but we're going to really update it. Then we found that acrylic, because the way it's manufactured, isn't an even product in the thickness. The thickness has changed. So then we had to go back to the whole drawing board again to re-engineer these ones so that they don't fall apart, but they come apart and they go together quite easily. So it was a whole engineering feat to do these ones.
That's a lot of thought is in all this work, and that's what I think what people will have when they get these is that the soul of a half a dozen people that poured themselves into this thing.
There's been 4 people working on this pretty much nonstop for the last 4 to 5 months.
Wow, that's wonderful. And who did the? I'm impressed too. Your video there about putting it together in fast motion. Mm-hmm. That's an exciting little video.
It is. That's John who works for me. John just basically he's dedicated the last few months nonstop to this project and everything, and that's all he does.
Well, that's a cute little thing. But now you were a general contractor and weren't having fun or something.
I was a contractor for years and years here in New York, and I had a friend of a friend was looking to do an event. And they needed somebody to build out a space for an event. And we came in, I gave them a price, they handed me a check for half the money up front. We finished it a week later, and they handed me a check for the rest of it. And I was a little dumbfounded by it. Construction for years and years and years, I'd never experienced full payment that fast and that easily. And then one job led to another job and another job, and I was like, I'm having a lot more fun doing this than I am doing the contracting. And we just ended all the construction and slowly job to job to job. And it's always been word of mouth, and we've been going nonstop now.
Wow. So you went from, doing kitchens to now having fun with toys, huh?
Exactly.
And getting paid faster.
And that's the whole thing, getting paid faster. And actually, every day is a fun day here. Like, we have fun every day at work because no 2 days are the same thing. Every day is something different.
So
that's what's cool about it.
You haven't looked back at contracting, huh?
Never questioned it, never second guessed it, because I have fun now.
Oh, wonderful. Well, to get these, and you get them now, you got about another week or two on Kickstarter, because otherwise that's where the real deal is. Mm-hmm. And you go to 32 Square, that's 32 SQUARE.com, and you can see Eric and his 5-year-old daughter putting him to shame, and you can see these great videos by the guy, how these animals come together. I mean, it looks like, animation that I see, in famous movies that this fellow put together. It's just wonderful stuff,
Yeah, no, John's been excellent about the whole thing. He just, like I said, every day I walk in and he's working on something different, and honestly, I'm not sure what he's going to do when we're done.
He's probably going to fire you for not working.
but yeah, it's been great. The ride has been awesome. We've been selling nonstop. We've actually now sold these things through Kickstarter all over the world. We're in 4 continents now, and over, I think, 12 or 13 countries people have purchased them. So it's been cool, and it's been humbling as well, because a simple idea that we were just playing with is within 2 months are going to be all over the place, all over the world.
So instead of trying to get it in FAO Schwartz, you just put it on the web and the whole world knows about it now, right?
Well, that's the idea, and we're going to be reaching out to a lot of other places as we move forward and things like that, and go that way.
But now you know for sure it's good.
That's the whole thing. We have the confidence now to take it to the next level.
Right. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Eric, and so glad you're there, and so glad you're making fun for the rest of us, too.
Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. Take care.
Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Okay, well, Skip and Katie, man, it seems like I've met you before somewhere. Actually, for people who are just tuning in, we've done this 2 or 3 times already, and that's why. But you're a father and daughter team, have this wonderful little idea that makes wine so much special for everybody. I mean, you think you have to be some big wine connoisseur, and it's just a simple process of aerating the wine, right? So how did you
Absolutely.
come up with this idea?
Yeah, well, when Katie was in college, she went to school in Walla Walla, Washington, which is just fantastic wine country. And so
They
my
teach
wife
that
and I,
they teach that at college? Is that a...
well, I wish they did. Once we got done visiting with her, we would go to all the wineries and visit.
I see.
And once we were there, you just learn all the stories about how passionate they are about making wine and how beautiful it is. Then you go in the tasting room, and they just pour it out of a bottle. And it seemed like all this beauty and effort that went into making the wine, the pour wasn't very special. So kind of just thought about it for a little bit. Got a couple corks, cut them in half, went to Starbucks, stole a bunch of straws,
Yeah.
went in my basement, drilled them out, and lo and behold, my concept worked. So the idea is just simply taking wine and being able to separate the streams so that the wine can naturally breathe, and it makes the pour more aesthetically pleasing.
Wow. But it is, you have a one there you could show them? Show us what it is?
Yeah. I'll have Katie pour it. She
Okay.
seems to be much better at this than me. She's better at everything.
You don't want to
So
dirty your
here's
pants.
the
Right?
device right here.
Uh-huh. So
On
just
top
this
of the
sticks
wine
in like
bottle.
a cork, right?
Yep, it just
Yeah.
sticks inside,
Yeah.
so can
Right,
take it out.
okay.
This is what it looks
Yeah.
like up close.
Uh-huh.
And then just sort of, not too hard, just sort of stick it in where the cork was.
Uh-huh.
And then let's see if I can get the white background on here.
Okay. Ah, I see. So that air is those 3 things that are coming down, pouring little straws
Right.
that
Yep.
aerates it. Wow.
So we separated the streams into
Yeah.
3, and the ambient air in between the streams just allows the wine to catch a breath of air
Uh-huh.
as it gracefully, beautifully falls into your glass.
And you
then
pack-
also,
Sorry.
it's great. And once you turn the device over, it's drip free. It doesn't drip.
Ah, wow.
So-
That'll save a lot on tablecloths. You know, when I'm pouring wine at
Certainly
dinner.
at our house.
But there's a great gift for people that get, you know, coming for dinner, that instead of figuring out what people want for wine, you bring one of these things as a gift, and it works for anything.
Absolutely. Really fun. It makes the evening so much better. Everybody will get a lot of pleasure from having the
And
pour
they're-
and aerating their wine themselves. You can
they're
taste
so-
an immediate difference between the wine. It's
They're so
fantastic.
reasonable too. I mean, they're what, like $30 or something like that. But actually, the early bird people got it for like $20, right?
They certainly did.
Yeah.
They certainly did.
So you
Right
can have
for
a half a
Kickstarter.
dozen of these around the house to keep for the next time you need a quick gift for somebody, right? Because you're on Kickstarter now, right? Raising money. And I guess, Katie, you're the one that had to convince the old guy there that this is the way to do things, huh?
Yeah. Well, he actually suggested Kickstarter. He'd heard about it
Ah.
from somebody, but then I started looking into it and realized, like, wow, this is totally something we could do. We sort of checked out some of the other projects from
Uh-huh.
around Portland that had been successful and that were also products, and sort of tried to model our campaign off of what we saw in theirs. And so there was a lot of time that we put into figuring out, okay, we want to make a video and we should set up our rewards this way. And it was a really interesting process to go through because beforehand, none of us had really been experienced with Kickstarter. But we just decided to go for it and sort of learn from the people who had been on there before. So it's been a
And
really
you
fun
figured
process.
it out. But you figured it out so much, man. You made your quota in like 3 days and 2 hours, right? You got $1,200. Yeah, $12,500, right? That was your quota, and you're still going, man. And you're up to almost $17,000, and you got 300-400 people that want this thing already, and you haven't even made them. So now you got to run out and make these things, huh?
It's really been an amazing ride. You know, when we started Kickstarter, we wouldn't know if we should guess that we're going to sell 50 of them or 500 of them. You wouldn't even know what's going to happen. And I kind of always thought people that get involved in Kickstarter, they had some kind of magic formula. They hired an outside company to help them with strategy. And since it was just the two of us doing it, and I was very little help.
So you're really keeping all this in the house, right? Katie, you just got out of college, right? Didn't want to go work for some big conglomerate, and you're spending more time with Dad, aren't you? How is that going?
It's been great.
Yeah,
it's really good.
I would love it. Having my boys around a lot. There's nothing better, I think, and it's so nice that you guys are able to work together like this and still be together. There's nothing like it. And Kate, you got a great dad there because he's working this with you, and he seems like a nice guy that he's not, telling you what to do every minute.
Yeah, it's been really fun. And actually, the whole family's kind of involved. My little brother, who just turned 18, made our Kickstarter video for us.
Oh, really?
He directed and edited that. Yeah.
No kidding. So it is a family. See, I think Dad has so much business experience. He learned how to write off the whole project. See.
Now all the wine tasting is a business expense. It's brilliant.
Right. And you just came back from wine country this afternoon or whatever, right?
Absolutely.
Wow. So how do you see it? I mean, do you have other distribution in mind, or what's going to happen after this, you think?
Yeah, we just talked about it in the car for the last 3 hours driving home. So what we want to do is we want to start very organically. We want to just be able to sell them ourselves. We want to try to sell them within the wine community the very best we can. I think a lot of young business people, they just want to try to make as much dough as they can as fast as they can.
Right.
And so the thought of us going to big retailers is maybe a little too complex for us also, because big retailers, they have their own supply chain, their own dating, their own deliveries. There's so many things that they need to do, and that's why they're so big. But the fact that we're so small, we're not sure that we could really service them adequately. So I think we're going to continue on with just trying to be very endemic. We're going to stay with just wine retailers. We're going to stay with wineries. We're going to stay with restaurants. And we're going to try to do the ordering process ourselves. We do have a fulfillment partner that we've identified in Los Angeles who's going to be able to do all the shipping for us. But it's one step at a time. And I think as each opportunity comes up, then you're confronted with something new. And we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Absolutely. That's the fun part of life. If you knew what was going to happen every day, that'd be boring as hell. Yeah.
Totally. What the heck,
Right. But was this in your mind? I mean, right before you retired from Nike, or was it just something happened by accident?
Yeah, I think, for ever since I was a little kid, I used to mix my food together and ask why things can't be different, why things can't be better. I think that's always just been part of my DNA. And so I have 3 patents now. I have 2 more in the patent office.
Wow.
And they're all very eclectic, and they're all very weird, and they all solve a problem, I think, if that's the common theme. And so, the reality is, once I got to my 31 years at Nike and I found that it was a really appropriate time for me to leave, I was like, wow, I know what I'm going to do tomorrow. I think a lot of people, when they leave their corporate jobs, they're lost. They're going to go, I'm going to play golf, I'm going to clean my garage, I'm going to go on a road trip. For me, I couldn't wait. I loved every day that I was at Nike. And I also have to say that from the day I left, I love everything that I'm doing right now. And working with Katie is one of those special things too.
Well, you have your heart into both your relationships at work and your business itself, and that's a wonderful way to live. And you're an inspiration to the rest of us. So if we retire, the only thing to do is get out and do something better.
Yeah, really. You got to know what you're retiring to, not what you're retiring from. Everybody worries about what they've been doing. You got to think about what you're going to do.
You're going to live 40 more years, longer than your last job. So, so to get this, it's really the best place is go to, where did it go? Okay. Tribella Wine, right? TRIBELLAWINE.com, right? And then you go to Kickstarter there, buy as many as you can because you'll need them as gifts or whatever. It's a great thing for everybody. I'm going to get one so I don't mess up my tablecloth and I look like a fancy wine connoisseur. Well, Katie and Skip, you're just wonderful people, and thanks for being out there and contributing so much.
Thanks for the time today. It was really great. It was great fun. Let's do it again sometime. Over a glass of wine, then.
Oh, yes. Well, that'll be for the 4th time, not again.
There you go. It'll be perfect.
Thank you.
Thanks. Adios.
Tim too, man, and you got the sketchy notebook, man, the inventor of the sketchy note. I mean, you're going to revolutionize anybody who ever picked up a pen to doodle, to do anything you want, on a piece of paper. Actually, you're going to throw notepads out of the world too, because now you come back to not technology, but nice old school real drawing.
Yes, I love drawings. So I guess a lot of people do like drawings though,
And you're solving that problem, right?
I'm trying to.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, you
Find their
see,
love.
your crowdfunding campaign, I mean, you only been on a couple of weeks, and gosh, you got $30,000 already, for a notebook. I mean, that's how spectacular this thing is, isn't it?
And the templates too.
And well, yeah, I guess that's the beauty of it, that you have, like a dozen or so templates for anybody. Do you have something?
Yeah.
I see. And you put that behind the page, and it makes your artist drawing, come to life. And so, I mean, all those other sketchbooks we used to have, we don't need all those different kinds anymore.
Yeah, I guess so. You just get rid of them.
Right.
Like these ones.
With the right. So, well, you're going to save the forest too, aren't you?
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. So, what made you think about doing this stuff?
Actually, it was a really old idea that I had like 3 years ago. And it was kind of frustration. It's not an idea. It's a frustration that I have. That I just like blank notebook pages, and then I just can't write on a straight line. But I don't really like line notebooks as well. So I made a prototype. I have a little template and put it underneath the page, and then it worked really well. And then after that, it sits there for like 3 years. And then one day I was like, I gotta do something. I gotta do something about it.
But what inspired you? What was the tipping point? God, I gotta do it. What was that? Having children?
Yeah, having children as well. Yeah. I have a really good life. I have a really stable job. I really have a really good job. I love it. And I have a really lovely wife and 2 beautiful kids. And then just one day I just sit there, and then I thought to myself, I gotta do something about my life. I gotta be the change you wish to see, right? So I made commitment and then try to do it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's delightful stuff, and it's obviously neat. If you have 700 people now, just for a few weeks on Kickstarter, this is going to be a big thing around the world. That is really. I mean, it seems, talking to you earlier, that this is your passion. This is what you really want to do in life, and solve this problem.
Yeah. And I'm really passionate about design and then make things better. And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that trying to solve a single problem, but because over the in the beginning, I got a lot of friends and a lot of people telling me that, oh, this is okay idea, it's not gonna work, and then it's difficult. It's difficult in the beginning, and then but if you really have a really good idea, you think, just stick to it and then try to solve along the way.
All the problems that come up. But more importantly, your friends aren't your customers.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, they're buying it from me now.
We go to our friends and families, and they're probably never our customers anyway.
Yes, I know.
So that's what's good about the crowdfunding site. You put it out there for the world to see it, right?
Yeah. It's definitely very rewarding to see all these people. It's to show the world your idea, and then get all these positive comments.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's
people
really,
love you all over the world, Tim.
I know, it's really flattering and really surprising too. You still have this idea and then you show the world, and then it's it's really something.
Tim.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
And I think that's what we're here for. I mean, if it's personal love, for our family, and then we have our professional love. giving something to other people. So that's what you're doing, is creating something you think is special for other people, and they're saying, yes, Tim, yes, go, go. And that's like a cheering crowd to keep you going in life, isn't it?
Yeah, because last time I saw this quote, it's very popular right now. YOLO, like you only live once, right?
Ah, YOLO.
Yeah, so having said that, you gotta do something about your life, It's something accomplishment. So this one is definitely one of my biggest accomplishments.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. And the internet helped you do it, right? Because without a crowdfunding site.
It's really crazy.
Yeah, all right. Well, you're a delight. And actually, people get this now on Kickstarter for like $25, $20. I mean, it's nothing, right?
Compared to other notebooks out there, I mean, it's really good. It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a deal. It's one of a kind. You'll be the first in your neighborhood to get something like this, and you gotta go. So go to sketchynotebook.com, right? And it's not sketchy at all. It's the real deal. Yeah. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry, Tim. Did I cut you off? Oh, well, thank you, Tim. I just think it's a wonderful thing, and it's neat. All around the world now, people can share your enthusiasm for having the right sketchbook that nobody else had even thought of until Tim, too, came along.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Tim. Take care.
Bye.